A healthy thyroid is going to mean we have glowing skin, shiny hair. Which woman doesn't want glowing skin and shining hair? So if it's out of whack, maybe we start to notice brittle nails, hair loss. We see hair loss for clients all the time, flaky skin, or maybe overall lack of like that cellular hydration. And we're seeing this as a common condition from the thyroid. So essentially, if we have low thyroid hormones, this is going to be slowing down our skin cell turnover, leading to dull, dry, and more congested skin, more stress. So we're going to be seeing more depletions that way. And when we're dealing with that slow cell turnover, remember, this can also be clogging pores and leading to more breakouts. So we want to be having that cell turnover. We are getting that refreshed skin underneath.
As we hang out in the Clear Skin solution today, we're going to dive into something near and dear to my heart. We call it the thyroid. No matter what, if someone like yourself is dealing with stubborn breakouts, unexplained fatigue, what about the common, I just feel off? Or, all my labs feel or say they're normal, but I don't feel normal. So no matter what you do, your thyroid and adrenal connection, really that could be like the little missing piece, right? So these two powerhouses, what they're going to do is work behind the scenes. They're going to help regulate your hormones, energy, even the health of our skin. And if I don't hear hormones every single day of my life, because everybody thinks acne is hormones, I'm going to give it to you 100% right? Because your stress are hormones and your thyroid, the master regulator, your hormone. So in this episode, guess what we're doing? We're breaking down how stress, hormone imbalances, sluggish detox pathways, how that can be showing up on your face. So more importantly, what you can do about it. You don't have to be stagnant. Being told you have an autoimmune or a hypothyroid or hyperthyroid or subclinical thyroid does not mean it's your fate. So if you're ready to dive in, I'm ready. Yeah, I know you have skin struggles. That's why you're hanging with us. Let's get some answers. Katie,
where is our thyroid? The thyroid is this little butterfly-shaped gland that sits kind of like around the base of your neck, right below where the Adam's apple would be. It's small, but it is, don't let the size of it fool you, because it really is a powerhouse when it comes to keeping your body running like a well-oiled machine. It does multiple different things in the body, anything from, being your body's thermostat, energy manager. And one of its main jobs is to produce hormones, primarily T3 and T4. This is how your body is going to be using energy. And these hormones are like multitasking pros. Let's kind of break down what the thyroid can help regulate. One of them is going to be your metabolism. And this is basically the speed of your body's engine, right? So if your thyroid is working overtime, which we refer to as hyperthyroidism, you might feel like your body is a little bit in overdrive, right? We're sweating, we're losing weight, we're feeling jittery. But if we're a little sluggish with a hypothyroid, everything's going to be slowing down. You might feel tired, gain weight, and get cold easily. From there, Cris, what's the next one that it's going to be helping to regulate?
You're going to love this. Everything.
Everything.
And I don't mean to be very facetious on this, right? However, at the end of the day, just something to know is I have hypothyroid. Fair? We all know this.
We all know.
It's true. It's facts. Can't even make it up. However, what people don't know or may not know is I'm hypo and I'm thin. I'm tiny. Like I'm short and I'm thin. So you can be thin. And a lot of people are like, well, I haven't gained weight. I'm very thin. So watch it, because a lot of those textbook-like behaviors will say you will gain weight. When you're undiagnosed, when things aren't regulated, you're going to gain edema, swelling, inflammation, and that pulls the weight on. So being able to disassociate between those is going to be the golden goose for everybody. The thyroid is a key production tool for all of these biomechanics in the body, right? Even what about heart, right? The heartbeat. So racing, barely ticking along. The thyroid hormone helps regulate heart rate.
We want a good heart rate to be out. Like, it's kind of an important part of our body, the heart.
And not just that, think about this. This becomes part of that sympathetic dominance, the fight or flight.
Spit it out. What you got?
Well, that's what I'm trying to say, right? So we sit there in an anxious, and the heart rate starts going up. The eyes might start bulging. We might be hypersensitive, sweating. Whatever it is, it's an overstimulation. So when the heart starts to increase as well, and some medications, just like too much T3, can put our heart rate in more of a rapid like space. So watch out for that heartbeat or that thumping, the thump that feels a little bit awkward. Doesn't mean that you have some kind of weird heart, because a lot of people go and get their heart tested. It could be the part and parcel of potassium. Potassium helps regulate nerve impulse stability, and potassium is a core mineral for the thyroid. So it's about really regulating your minerals.
What about your digestion? Something we talk about every single day over in the Clear Skin Solution on social. I don't think a day goes by where I haven't talked about digestion.
No. Often we become very slow in digestive processes. This is part of your world, right? Trying to get that stimulation. So when a sluggish thyroid slows down the liver and then the gut function, so those are all going to be two players in flushing toxins, excessive hormones. So when these detox organs are not functioning optimally, your skin becomes back up exit route, acne, eczema, super dry. Oh my gosh, that's not even fun, right? It hurts. So then we're going to lead to breakouts, because we could also be getting more bacteria on our face. Naturally we have bacteria regardless. However, as soon as we start getting, skin erosions or proliferation of the skin, it's just a breeding ground, because bacteria can sit underneath that skin, right? And then we can get acne, say jawline and chin. Hello, hormonal acne. How do we feel about hormonal acne, Katie? Just that blanket statement.
A large majority of the acne sufferers, like, Katie, Chris, I have hormonal acne. That's all I have. I just have hormonal acne. Sure, it's not just your hormones. Your hormones are working synergistically with the rest of your body. They need to be able to function. In order for them to function properly, the gut has to be working well, digestion has to be working well, your detox organs have to be working well, your thyroid has to be working well. All of these body systems need to be working well in order for there to be happy hormone.
As Katie explained, if your thyroid is the master regulator of hormones, I'm going to give it to you. When you say hormone, I'm going to say, yep, because I know your adrenals, that's hormone output, and I know your thyroid, hormonal output, are definitely connected. It's just remember, it's not always sex hormones.
There's more than just estrogen, progesterone, and your androgens.
Like
way
50 plus more.
There's
right?
a lot. There's a lot going on.
So if we look at the thyroid and the needs for those key nutrients, right? Again, let's think about that rabbit hole internet search. Popping up is going to be zinc, selenium, iodine. Bang, bang, bang. These make me a little vomity because, those are great for skin as well, right? You're seeing a lot of symmetry, right? So when we don't have zinc, things like poor wound healing or increased inflammation when we don't have selenium. Selenium's it takes 4 molecules of selenium to make 1 glutathione. And your body can make glutathione with the cofactor of selenium. There's your geek fact for the day.
Tell everybody what glutathione is.
Is your mother lode. It is the bubble wrap to your heirloom lamp that you're going to travel across the world. It helps protect your body against free radicals and damage.
That master antioxidant.
Huge, right? So if we don't have all of these cofactors, iodine converts T4 into T3. So I see all the time is people like, increase your iodine. Do we have an autoimmune? There's cofactors for everything. So please do not be supplementing with things like zinc if we have huge yeast infections, right? Because we could perpetuate the issues. Selenium, it's toxic if we can't get it out. So you have to have the mechanisms to absorb it and or flush it. And iodine, it's going to be codependent if you have an autoimmune, right? All of these things. So those are very common deficiencies seen with acne and thyroid. And the other thing is we need the antioxidants. We need B vitamins. So that's another one, because energy, cellular turnover, we have slow cellular turnover when we have thyroid. However, now that I've said all this, do not go out and buy them because food is powerful. Go there first. Your body knows what to do with it.
Zinc-rich foods, selenium-rich foods, B vitamin-rich foods.
Just love it, right? Like even iodine, you can get that from kelp and sea veggie and these types of things.
And if you're like, ew, that sounds gross, you can actually get like a sea veggie sea salt that you can like sprinkle on top of things that you wouldn't even notice the taste. All right, so here's the thing. A healthy thyroid is going to mean we have glowing skin, shiny hair. Which woman doesn't want glowing skin and shining hair? Like, sign me up, thank you. So if it's out of whack, maybe we start to notice brittle nails, hair loss. We see hair loss for clients all the time, flaky skin, or maybe overall lack of like that cellular hydration. And we're seeing this as a common condition from the thyroid. So essentially, if we have low thyroid hormones, this is going to be slowing down our skin cell turnover, leading to dull, dry, and more congested skin, more stress. So we're going to be seeing more depletions that way. And when we're dealing with that slow cell turnover, remember, can also be clogging pores and leading to more breakouts. So we want to be having that cell turnover. We are getting that refreshed skin underneath.
Yeah, exactly. And we know that the thyroid does not work alone. So we need the pituitary gland, that little pea-sized nugget in our brain. In the pituitary, right? It acts like the thyroid's boss. Oh, I like that. So sending out the thyroid stimulating hormone, which you'll see often on blood labs called TSH, and then it's going to pump out more of that T3, that T4 hormone. So that's kind of the cofactor. So it's a feedback loop. So we even have to be able to have the signals in our body to do the feedback loop.
Fatigue. So, feeling exhausted even after getting a full night's sleep. Maybe we're having the unexplained weight changes. So we're having difficulty losing weight, gaining weight. Maybe there's that hair loss, the hair thinning where it's like dry, it's brittle, like it's just shedding, cold.
Also watch your brush.
Oh yeah, watch the brush in the shower.
It can come out like clumps.
And remember, it's normal to lose hair. Like I have long hair. I have hair coming out when I'm in the shower, but this is like clumps of hair. If you're seeing like a scary amount coming out, then maybe what about your tolerance to heat and cold, right? You're feeling unusually cold or constantly overheated. We're doing the seeing skin changes, like the dry, flaky skin that we see with hypothyroidism, or the oily, sweaty skin that we see with hyperthyroidism. Maybe we're looking at those mood swings we already talked about, depression, anxiety, irritability. Then we see brain fog, like the trouble focusing, the forgetfulness, the mental sluggishness. We already talked about those digestive issues. Maybe we're seeing some menstrual irregularities. So heavy, prolonged periods we'll often see with the hypothyroidism clients, or the lighter, shorter cycles with the hyperthyroid clients. And then we also spoke about those heart rate changes. So the slow pulse, the low energy, the rapid heartbeat, the jitteriness. Those are the most common things that we're seeing with our acne clients inside the Clear Skin Solution.
So every little symptom that you announced there, that's where we're going to see that underactive or overactive. So hyperthyroid, hyperthyroid. Now, I want to just jump into something a little bit different, because when we look at, what do I want to call it? What do you call it? The autoimmune.
There we go. That's the word.
See, let's go back to your like 6th, 7th, or 8th point. What about brain fog, right?
That's the worst, brain fog, right?
So when we look at these symptoms, the thing I just want everybody to know is an autoimmune thyroid disease is what I'm trying to say, not typically seen in general thyroid imbalances. So you have thyroid issue, you're going to have, say, that host, a solid, I guarantee you, solid 7, 8. You might not have them all, but you're 7, 8, you're going to be like, oh my gosh, for sure. Then autoimmunity, that's where we might see swelling of the neck, like a goiter. So a noticeable, tender, large, well, it's more like an enlargement of the thyroid, because the immune system is being attacked. Joint pain, stiffness, muscle weakness, hives, unexplained rash. This is where we have to be careful, because this is the immune system. Okay. And this is where you're going to hear Katie and I say the word histamine a lot. Unstable energy levels. So levels of energy and fatigue, different beasts. Okay. Because energy, when your energy goes down, what happens is we get nervous energy. So usually we have periods of extreme fatigue, then burst of nervous energy. We can have tingling and numbness. Autoimmune clustering. So what autoimmune clustering is when you're diagnosed with one autoimmune, say such as celiac, we are predisposed to other ones easier because of the way the immune system's going. So whether that's rheumatoid arthritis, it's Hashimoto's, Graves', Cushing's, something like that. So we always want to be doing regular blood works, following up with doctors, making sure people are watching out for us, but please, you have to advocate for yourself. The other thing I often get, hoarseness. Sometimes I sound like a man in the morning, or if I cry, which sometimes it can be really hard to express emotions when you have thyroid and you don't cry. Difficulty swallowing, puffy face, eyelid swelling, like just zoom in. Hello, everybody can see my sexiness here. This is an autoimmune, okay? Where the thyroid, it might be just darker purple or blackish. And we're going to say, oh, that's a liver. Well, however, the puffy usually goes into the autoimmune. Will I have an autoimmune if I have thyroid issues?
No. Thyroid imbalances and thyroid autoimmune conditions are not the same. Where thyroid imbalances, they refer to too much or too little thyroid hormone, so hypothyroidism or hyperthyroidism, which can happen due to stress, nutrient deficiencies, or hormonal shifts. On the other hand, a thyroid autoimmune condition, like say a Hashimoto's or a Graves' disease, this occurs when the immune system starts to attack the thyroid, leading to long-term inflammation and gradual dysfunction.
Yeah, so this is where all the sexy happens, right? So the other thing then, why thyroid antibodies matter is the next succession. Because, we'll have clients come in and they're like, I've been diagnosed with thyroid for a decade, 2 years, 20 years. I've been on pharmaceuticals. And I say, okay, when's your last blood labs? And they're like, 2 years ago. Pardon? Yeah, what do you mean? And where are your autoimmune markers? Oh, what? Huh? So I need everybody listening. If you suspect you have a thyroid issue, if you have it in your family, if you just want to know, early detection of an autoimmune thyroid disease can happen. So if we're looking at, Hashimoto's, underactive, Graves, overactive, they develop long before, usually we're going to see our TSH or T3 and our T4 showing imbalances.
This is why people go not just years, but sometimes decades before they're actually officially diagnosed with an autoimmune disease, because they really do develop silently, right? It's a lot of subtle symptoms that can get dismissed or attributed to like other things, because these factors like stress, gut imbalances, nutrient deficiencies, environmental toxins, all of these things can act as these hidden triggers that really slowly fuel the immune attack without obvious signs. Like for me, being celiac, I most likely had this since I was a little kid. And it wasn't until I was in my early 20s that our doctor was like, yeah, I think you got celiac.
You don't know, right? And that's why going to the symptoms and delineating the symptoms between, say, the thyroid inactivity and an autoimmune. Food intolerances, sensitivities, more gut issues, bowel motility. Once we start getting the severity of these symptoms and compounding to the point, like you will be walking into the doctor like zombie.
Yeah, literally feeling like death.
Garbage. And because it's a slow progressional insert of all these compounded symptoms, which now become chronic, guess what happens? Your body is a fine-tuned machine. And what it does is it adapts and it adapts and it adapts. So all of a sudden it's like, oh no, Route 66 is blocked. Okay, let's go to I-89, right? Because it can. Because it's like, I need the pathway. This is why your skin becomes a vessel, because like damage control sent to the skin, we have to get it out. So when people get diagnosed, we've already had significant amount of symptoms. You've been to your doctor for perhaps onset of asthma. I never had it before. Acne.
And they're like, oh,
there's
it's just part of being a woman. Take the pill. That's your issue. Take the birth control pill.
Right. Inconsistence of menses. So now you're put on birth control, or you know what? You have raging acne. You're sent to a dermatologist. The last person they send you to is really what? An endocrinologist.
That's the last person you're going to get to.
Right? Like you're going to go to a you're going to have tubes stuck up your bum, cameras stuck up your bum, cameras stuck down your mouth. You're going to have 1,500 tubes come out of your arm before you get the thyroid. I have no idea why, because it's a leading cause. Mm-hmm. In North America.
Really interesting, Cris, is like how many clients now in the thousands we've worked with have we been like, we can't legally diagnose you, but these symptoms seem a lot like an autoimmune condition. Can you please go see a specialist, get these labs done, ask for X, and then come back and tell us what they say? How many times have they been like, you were right, I did have an autoimmune condition? We've had a number of clients where they've ended up having lupus as their autoimmune condition. We're like, you need to go force them to give you these tests.
Yeah, for sure. Like full blown Epstein-Barr, lupus, rheumatoid arthritis, Hashimoto's, Cushing's. Like these are ones that you can see more in the face, right? So either way, however you want to look at it, the fact is there are holistic approaches, because everyone's like, oh my gosh, I have thyroid now, I need to, because
everyone's like, I have a thyroid issue. Everyone listening, I have a thyroid issue.
It's a problem. Also, just let me run into the sex hormone for a second. Here's the thing. When we have a hypothyroid, it's easily for us to go into estrogen and then androgen dominance and estrogen, and we can volley. Okay. However, it's typically more in line with like a PCOS or excess, like endometriosis. That's when we're going to be like, okay, we definitely want to get in there, check the thyroid. We all want to check the thyroid regardless, but that's when we get into the Hashimoto's, we tend to kind of hang out in one predominant stage or the other, but it doesn't mean you can't go. Remember, the adrenals and the cortisol and the adrenaline, which we love, that's how we survive. That's really how we survive in life. They throw off your sex hormones. So always looking at the cofactors, and it irritates me more than anything. This is going to get your hate mail ready. Irritates me more than anything when clients come in and they're being supported from holistic practitioners balancing their sex hormones.
Okay, I agree. Okay, I fully agree. So I'll take the hate mail. Send it my way.
Just take it. So because people can research all this, they might not know how to disconnect the autoimmune thyroid symptoms from but now they do, right? And they might not know that the TSH isn't the pinnacle of just what's happening with the thyroid. Can we jump into labs a little bit?
Let's do it. So here's the thing. Blood labs. Oftentimes when you are sent for labs, you are not sent for enough labs. Enough of those boxes are ticked off on the blood lab requisition list. And it's so often that they're just looking at your TSH. We need to be looking at a full thyroid panel, everybody. So that way we can be checking for issues with the T3, the T4, the reverse T3, and your thyroid antibodies. We need the whole picture, not just the one.
Not one. Please, it's useless. And make sure it's free T3, free T4, not total.
And again, reminder that we want to be looking at the ranges from a functional perspective, because when you're looking at the ranges from a conventional Western medicine perspective, the range is very wide. It's based on an unhealthy population. And even if you are within that conventional range, but you're at the low end or the high end, they're just saying, yeah, no, you're within range, but you're fine. But if we take that lens and we shrink it a little bit from an out of functional perspective, you're now on the outside. And we're like, oh, hey, now this is starting to signal that some things could be happening that we need to be looking at. And even when you're looking at a functional perspective, even if you are at the tail end or the top end, we're going to be like, hey, that's you're within range, but these are still some numbers that we want to be making some adjustments here and there.
And it's a must. What happens is you get the TSH and they're like, it's fine. You're in range. Well, this range, you do have to realize, goes from 0.37 as an example, right up to, in some areas, 5 point something. After you hit about 2 with your TSH, you're going to start to feel it. And because you've been living in these symptoms, your body climatizes and you don't realize it till you hit a serious wall where you could be in bed and you can't get out because you're living in misery or aches and pains or emotional imbalances. So it's serious. So when we look at that TSH holistically, 1.8, sexy, I'll take it. I function at 1. I like to be a little bit more stimulated than others, right? And especially the RT3 is not even seen as a viable option. However, that's going to tell you what the conversion's doing in the liver. Super important. It's not just about one of these, right? We have all the antibodies, which are never usually ran because they're like, we'll see what your thyroid does first. Put it this way. In the last 2 months, I have had to tell 2 clients who have beautiful, let's say, thyroid markers that we just talked about, TSH, free T3, free T4, full on Hashimoto, full on.
But their labs look normal, Cris.
Well, yes, their thyroid Their thyroid is normal. Fair?
Nothing wrong. They're totally fine.
Nothing wrong here. Just carry on with your day.
Carry on.
What they don't understand is that an autoimmune, like Katie was explaining, is not the thyroid. So the thyroid can be subclinical or hypo on its own, not functioning either functioning too slow or too fast, right? Then the autoimmune comes where we like to say that an Epstein-Barr virus goes to the thyroid and the body's immune system is actually attacking the virus, not the thyroid, because our body would never self-destruct on us. Outside of that, we have to just look at, okay, your thyroid looks okay, and so that's going to be subclinical thyroid. They're two different beasts. Your autoimmunity is not the organ itself. It's the immune system. And now we have a cascade thing. So what do you think about leaky gut? Histamine-like behaviors, food intolerances, H. pylori, Epstein-Barr active. Now we get all these other compounding issues. So that gut thyroid skin connection, because we liked all those little dinkity donkers, with that leaky gut, that's going to allow toxins into the bloodstream, trigger breakouts. So addressing the antibodies is that gut health for clearer skin, lowering the inflammation in the body because you were constantly inflamed, as much as even celiac, right? As much as we try not to be. So if somebody makes us upset, which really we're participating in that, I have to say, people with autoimmune, they go from 0 to 100 pretty quickly. Getting the TPOAB, getting the TGAB, getting the TSI, getting the absolute full gamut, beg, plead, Western medicine thinks that the thyroid is just hereditary. And don't get me wrong, there is a 5-MTHFR gene that can be predisposed. And yes, it's going to be connected, but there's different types of those genes. So just because you were told you have that gene, which one is it, right? You don't need a genetic marker. You just need to take holistic approaches. And maybe we can talk about the holistic approaches.
Yeah. Because now that we've, may everybody think they have a thyroid issue because I have all those symptoms. Everyone's like, that's it. So just know that, we always share this information so that you can be aware and make informed and empowered decisions about your health, where there's always going to be symptoms that are, say, thyroid related, but there's an overlap where they can actually be related to this or related to that. So don't automatically jump to the conclusion that you have all of these things that we talk about. We are just always here to provide you that information so you can dig deeper to find out, hey, is this something that could be going on for myself? So one of the things we can absolutely start doing to be supporting our thyroid, whether we're dealing with thyroid imbalances or not, is going to be supporting our gut health, something we talk about all of the time. We want to be nourishing the gut lining. We want to be supporting a good, happy, healthy microbiome. So maybe we're going to be looking at some fermented foods that can be really great, whether that's some sauerkraut, some kimchi. Maybe we're looking at fiber-rich foods to help with our bowel movements. Maybe we're looking at prebiotic-rich foods. Maybe we're looking at, legumes like the lentils, the chickpeas. Again, this would be adding fiber. Any of those healthy anti-inflammatory fats like our avocado oil, olive oil, our fatty fish, all of these wonderful things that we can really be adding. Or maybe something like, bone broth, if you tolerate bone broth really well. Maybe some aloe vera juice, making sure we're getting hydration. And these are all going to be really great for helping to support our gut. Then let's talk about, Cris, balancing our blood sugar.
Well, the thyroid blobs stable blood glucose levels, right? Blood sugar. So does our skin. So does our hormones, ladies. So we need to keep it steady. We're going to help prioritize and regulate the hormones that impact not only the thyroid, or we should say the stress that impacts the hormones that impairs the thyroid, and acne. And I really need everybody, just because you went into the gut, as when we're supporting the gut, it's a nice transition. One of the things between thyroid and an autoimmune with it is things like the kimchis or the ferments might be reactionary. So there's little nuggets. Yeah. So if you have a thyroid condition and you can't get that panel for whatever reason that you try it with the foods. If you find that the ferments are stimulating or the vinegars are stimulating and you don't really understand, we might be triggering that. If the bone broth is a little bit like sniff, sniff, sniff. Again, that's that histamine. That could be the immune. Adversely, when we have the thyroid, it can be very supportive. So just delineate between those two, because that can be a whole lot of undercover detective work.
Yeah, that histamine is such a hidden trigger for so many things, including skin issues, right? Where we have clients being like, I've tried everything. And we're like, let's look at our histamine possibly. We have an entire episode on that. So go back and search the podcast for histamine, because that's a really good episode. So then we're going to be looking, like when we're talking about blood sugar, I should mention the best ways to balance your blood sugar. Don't skip your meals, eat consistently, and have protein, fiber, and healthy fats at each one of those meals. And people are always like, well, Katie, what's a protein, fiber, fat? An example of a protein would be an animal protein, like a chicken or turkey, sustainable fish, grass-fed beef, or it would be even eggs, or maybe we're looking at lentils, legumes, chickpeas, nuts, seeds. And then if we're looking at fiber, of course, we can be getting these from gluten-free grains, like say, brown rice, a quinoa, a millet, whatever that may be. But you could also be getting these from nuts, seeds, fruits, and vegetables, like avocados, great source of fiber, raspberries, great source of fiber. And then we're going to be looking at healthy fats. Healthy fats are going to be things like, look, an avocado is also a good source of healthy fat. Olive oil, olives, coconut milk, coconut oil, nuts, seeds. So making sure you're having a combination of those at each meal is going to make sure your blood sugar levels stay really stable. And remember, coffee is not a meal.
Stop it. I refuse to listen.
We could be having coffee after our meal maybe, but coffee doesn't replace a meal because it's going to impact your blood sugar. And then Chris, how about one that we talk, like if an episode doesn't go by where we don't mention this? What is it?
Stress.
And can I just say, so just note that if you are somebody who is chronically stressed like me, I get it. I'm with you. It's not easy and it's not fun, but we have to do it, everybody.
Yeah. And we have to prioritize. How? Okay, Katie, what's the answer to this because of our talk?
Sigh. Ready. So here's what I've been doing to prioritize stress reduction. Mm-hmm. I have been setting more boundaries. I'm no longer a workaholic-ish. Let's just say I'm in recovery from my workaholicness. In recovery, I'm setting more boundaries. I'm giving myself more me time. I have a very supportive husband, or I should say I'm very lucky. I'm a very, very supportive husband who helps with this.
Yeah, we need to clone Frank. Everybody I've met him several times. Just going to let you know, like
we'll rent him out. Yeah. Add to cart. He's wonderful. So I'm very lucky. I've been also, instead of jumping right into my emails and right into whatever I have to do for that day, I've been doing, spending 30 minutes and just doing a gratitude practice, some deep breathing, and a quick meditation. So again, these are things that are working for me, that I get to work into my day. So I've been doing the meditation, deep breathing, journal exercise. I have been setting better boundaries and trying to work less. And I've been trying to do more things that bring me joy. I am obsessed with reading. So I've been reading more. And the fourth thing I'm doing is getting to bed. So instead of saying just one more scroll, just one more show, just one more chapter, I'm realizing that my body does best when I am asleep between 9:30 and 10.
Yes. And the thyroid is also highly sensitive to stress. So chronic, that's what we say, meaning longer term, cortisol spikes, they throw everything off, your entire body. That's why we love to say that's the root cause. Stress is the root cause of everything. Just get your stuff together, everybody. We want to do healing frequencies, so different hertz that can go into the body, quality sleep like Katie, hydration, eating well, balancing our meals, regulating our stress. And if you have a thyroid issue, this is what I say, this is my demise, right? At the end of the day, if we do not start to play out the stress responses and we hold it in, then we repeat it in our minds, then we judge ourselves, then we get resentful, then we get frustrated, and then we take it out on ourselves through not sleeping, not eating, and not being kind to ourselves. Thyroid 101. Welcome to my world.
Miss Thyroid Expert, what would be some of your favorite nourishing foods specifically for the thyroid? Like those selenium, the zinc, the iodine, the magnesium, like those foods.
Yeah.
What ones are your faves?
If we're tolerant, we can get some Brazil nuts in, not too many. They say 3, I say maybe 2, and not every single day, right? But there's a list. There's a list of selenium foods that you can easily go on to the internet for, right?
Go Google. Selenium rich foods, zinc rich foods.
Like iodine, seaweed, that's an easy piece, right? Leafy greens, magnesium, almonds, dark chocolate. Again, autoimmune, you might react. Sorry, don't shoot the messenger, it's just facts. But, We deplete magnesium in chronic stress. And if you have a thyroid, please love your magnesium pathways with lots of nourishing foods and potassium. Your adrenals need it, your thyroid needs it, and that's kind of how it goes. However, you know what I was going to say? I was trying to let it go, but my body's saying don't let it go. The thyroid, you described it as what shape?
Butterfly.
Okay, so when we think about a butterfly, just I'm going to go into that round. Okay?
Where's she going? Let's sit and wait.
So a butterfly is known for its transformation and growth, right? So this represents change, renewal, new beginnings. People with thyroids, we tend to like to be status quo, balanced. What do I want to say? Don't rock the boat, right? Freedom, lightness. So as we go through transitions, we like transitions with ease, but we always tend to take what? The gravel, uphill, snowstorm road. So we have the options to take, oh my gosh, look at this. I can take the whole horse and carriage and somebody can do it for me, or I can trench it myself. It's life lessons. So if we even look at the spirituality, the soul, right? Self-discovery, higher purpose. You have a thyroid condition, we tend to overthink, right? One of the things I'll tell you is resiliency and strength. We tend to, because the word endurance comes up, we will push ourselves through things. 1 more minute, 10 more minutes, in a minute. I'll do that tomorrow, right? And we tend not to prioritize ourselves because people often with a thyroid imbalance, they have a lot of resiliency and strength and they bounce back. It's part of it, but it's not at cost. The cost is your adrenals. Okay. The cost is your stress-led response and the cost is your sanity. If I had to gift anyone anything, if we're going to look at the symbolism of the butterfly and the body connections, is really live in this moment and appreciate your entire life journey. Because I got here through an illness. If I didn't have that, I wouldn't be here. I guarantee you. I would have been just status quo. I also want to look at, I have a heart chakra, a thyroid chakra that's interconnected between thyroid and the butterfly. So love, compassion, and emotional balance. We strive for this. I think that kind of summarizes everybody, but I'll tell you, any acne sufferer right here, the heart chakra, go research it. It's your jam. And then that final thyroid connection, it really, because of the shape, again, balance and vitality. Vitality is everything in our body, and without it, we're going to burn out. So let's look at how we're going to transform into our journey, how we're going to, this big T word, trust. Trust is a big one. Trust the process of growth. Love yourself as you're going through and look at the difference between endurance and do we need resiliency and strength? Or do we need self-discovery, higher purpose, transition, renewal, kindness, love, and reflection? So I'll leave everybody with that because this is my jam. And what we do is not one thing. People just, like my in-laws used to say, are you still doing that nutrition thing? Well, this is way beyond nutrition, isn't it? But once you start to know the patterns and once you start to know the symbolisms and once you start to know how your body jives, guess what? You learn new and it becomes easier because it's not new anymore. It's a new pattern. So that's what I would like to share with the class today.
That was a lot to share with the class today. I think everyone is extremely informed now. Thank you, Cris Brown, for all of the notes you made today.
And your anatomy lesson.
As always, Cris Brown here to walk you through all the things. All right, everybody. Another fun-filled episode here on the Clear Skin Chronicles. We will see you again next week. Bye, guys.